Hi, I'm Lori with Cyrious Software. I'm going to demonstrate how the new artwork approval feature works in Control. Let's first look at a simple example so that you can get a basic understanding of the feature before we go into detail. The first step is to create an estimate or order as you normally would. Then we'll go to the Artwork tab and add artwork groups to the order. We just need one, so I'll click on the Add Artwork Group button one time. We'll then want to assign a designer and approver, and we'll leave Fred as our approver. Then we want to add our proof files to the Documents tab. When we're ready to send a notification email to our customer letting them know they have an artwork that needs to be approved, we'll go back to the Artwork tab. We first need to set the line items, and then we'll change the status of the artwork group to pending approval. Our approver, Fred, will then get an email. He'll click on the button that says Click to View Artwork. This will open up a web page where the approver can see all of the artwork related to the estimate or order. From there, the approver can comment, or they can also approve, reject, or request changes to their artwork. The changes made by the approver on the web page will trigger automatic emails that will be sent to the designer and the approver. It will also update the status of the artwork in Control. From there, you'll go ahead and route the job as you normally would through production. Now that we've gone through a brief example, let's now look at the two components that make up the artwork approval feature. There's the Artwork tab, which is what your employees will be using to create artwork groups, assign designers and approvers, add comments, and change statuses. The Artwork tab is visible on estimates and orders that have been created and saved. When a transaction is in edit mode, the Artwork tab is not visible. If we save this, you'll notice that the Artwork tab is now visible. This is because the display on the Artwork tab is actually a web page. That means there's no need to edit and save your changes on the Artwork tab. You just make the necessary changes and they will automatically be saved, similar to the way you work on any other web page. The second component of the Artwork approval feature is the Customer Cloud app, which is a web app that is accessed via a button on an automatic email that is sent when an artwork group is moved to the pending approval status. The customer clicks the button, which launches the web app. From there, they can preview all artwork linked to the order, comment on the artwork, or click to approve, reject, or request changes to the artwork. Any of these actions will trigger an automatic email that is sent to the designer to notify them of any new comments and/or artwork status changes. There are 3 requirements to use artwork approval. The first is that you must be running version 5.75 of Control or higher. The second requirement is that you must have document management enabled. The third requirement is that you must have the Cyrious Cloud connector enabled. To start the setup process, open any estimate or order in Control. You should see a new Artwork tab to the right of the Notes tab. Go ahead and click on that tab. If you haven't gone through the setup process already, your screen should look similar to this, where you will be directed to complete a series of compatibility tests. Since the artwork approval feature relies on several different technologies to work correctly, the compatibility tests help to ensure that artwork approval will properly function when enabled. You'll need to click the green Check Compatibility button to start the series of checks to verify your system is set up to work with Control's artwork approval feature. As Control performs these checks, the appropriate result, passed, warning, or failed, will display in the status column. Once all of your checks show as passed, you'll be able to click the Select Plan button and proceed to enabling artwork approval. Please visit the wiki article to get specific information about why a test did not pass. Once you've selected the Select Plan button and specified a pricing plan, click the Enable Artwork button. Let's walk through the setup categories on the left one at a time. One important thing to remember is that these settings will affect all users and transactions, so keep that in mind when changing these settings. Also, if you ever need to get back to this screen, you can always access it using the white gear setup button, the top right of an order or estimate. First, let's look at the options category. Under the Artwork Approval Options section, the first checkbox is to enable artwork approval in Control. You'll want to check this option if you plan to use this feature. Underneath, you'll find an option to enable the Customer Cloud app. If you want your customers to be able to comment and review artwork online, you'll want to check this option. By leaving this option unchecked, you'll only be able to use the Artwork tab in Control and no charges will be incurred. You'll also notice that some of the setup categories on the left appear or disappear depending on if the Cloud app option is enabled or disabled. The next set of options is asking how we want the default artwork group creation for new orders and new estimates to be handled. We can either have Control not create an artwork group for new orders and estimates. We can have Control create one new artwork group for new orders and estimates, or we can have Control create a new artwork group for each line item. Since we can manually add artwork groups as needed, I'd recommend selecting one of the first two options for estimates and/or orders to get started. You can always change these settings later, but remember, they apply to new transactions only. Cloned and converted transactions will keep the original transaction's artwork group. The next setup category deals with your email setup options. If you plan to use the Customer Cloud app, or if you want your internal staff to be notified of artwork status changes, you'll need to enter in your email information. This information is used to send automatic notifications related to artwork approval only. Let's get started. In the Email From Name field, enter the name that you want your customer to see when they open their inbox. A good example would be ABC Signs Art Department or ABC Signs Design Department. Next, we'll enter the email address for the person or group you want that test email to go to. Most people enter their own email address here. Then we have the username field. Enter the username linked to the email account you'd like to use. Below that, enter in your password. The optional reply to field will only be used if someone replies to the automatic notification email that they receive. To be on the safe side, I'd enter the email address for your design department or for a specific designer, just so that no emails fall through the cracks. The optional BCC will automatically blind carbon copy the email address entered in this field. Your SMTP server will change depending on who your email provider is. Since we're using Gmail, mine is going to be smtp.gmail.com. Your security type is also going to change depending on who your email provider is. Once we've entered in all of this information, what we want to do is go down to the bottom and click on the Send Test Email. This will send a test email to the email address we have entered here. Once we send the test email, our email is sent. You're going to want to check the email address for this person to verify an email was received. If these settings are accurate and you receive the email, go ahead and save these changes. The next setup category deals with custom Cloud app messages. The home screen welcome message is the message that appears on the landing page of the Cloud app. As the name suggests, the approval terms message displays when someone approves artwork. You can also control whether the I agree button is a required field from the screen. The last custom message is the Contact Us message. This is the message that will display above your company phone number and email address on the Contact Us page. I've gone ahead and entered in a few example custom messages. Let's see where they show up on the Customer Cloud app. On the landing page, you'll see the example welcome message appear. If we go to the Contact Us page, we'll see the example Contact Us message appear. And if we go back and approve our artwork, we'll see the last approval terms message appear there. Example approval terms message. Now that we have our custom messages entered, now let's go to the next category, the check compatibility option. Since we've discussed this earlier, I won't go into detail again. Just remember that this tool is available and can be used at any time. I'd especially recommend running this test immediately after an update and after performing a server swap. Our next category allows you to change which artwork approval billing plan you're on. You can change your plan at any time. Just remember that charges will be applied to the current billing cycle. And our last category is the help category. This page provides a link to the main wiki article on the artwork approval feature. Let's go ahead and click that. The wiki articles are very thorough and cover everything that this video covers and a lot more. As you scroll down, you can see all the different wiki articles that were created for this feature. Now that we have the system set up and we've gone through a very basic example, let's go through a more detailed example. In this example, our customer is Subway store number 504. Let's go to their company record. Notice a new artwork tab. On that tab, I can set my default designer and/or approver for this company. By setting defaults on the company record, all new orders or estimates will default to the company's artwork settings. Throughout this example, we will run across some new terminology. We just spoke about designers and approvers. These fall into the category of a new term called named roles. Designers are an example of a named employee role. Approvers are an example of a named customer or contact role. Now, whenever I say designer, what you're really thinking is, who's the person that you want to be contacted whenever the customer adds a comment, approves or rejects artwork? This can be a designer. In some shops, this is going to be a CSR or a project manager. Now that we have our company default set, let's take a look at the order that Subway store number 504 would like us to produce. To save a little time, I've already created the order. It's order 1186. Subway would like to purchase 1 double-sided flag on a dowel rod and 2 yard signs on step stakes. For this example, we'll need to create 2 artwork groups. An artwork group can have 0 or multiple proof files in it. It must be linked to a line item. Control's already created the first artwork group and linked it to line items 1 and 1A. We'll create a second artwork group by clicking the Add Artwork Group button. This will add artwork group B. Let's go ahead and link it to line item 2 and 2A. The next thing that we'll do is link the appropriate files to each artwork group. To do that, click on the Documents tab. You should see an artwork folder. Go ahead and open that folder. You'll then see a folder for each artwork group. Let's open artwork group A's folder. We'll then open the proof folder, and we'll want to drop the image for line item number 1 into that folder. We'll go ahead and paste those. Let's do the same thing for artwork group B. We'll open the proof folder and we'll copy and paste our files for the step stake signs, for the yard signs, into the folder. Now, you'll notice that I've attached a PDF and a PNG. Once we navigate to the Customer Cloud app, I'll show you why this is helpful, but not necessary. You will always want to add an image file. An image file can be a JPEG, a PNG file, or a bitmap. One thing to remember is that there's not one way to attach files. Every customer may do this a little different, and that's fine. Now that we've dropped our artwork folders in the appropriate proof files for each group, let's go back to the Artwork tab. You'll now see that Control has detected 1 proof file in Artwork Group A and 2 proof files in Artwork Group B. Let's expand Group A and take a look at that proof file. Click the arrow to the left of the group letter. This will open the proofs. To see more details on each proof, click the arrow to the left of the proof number. You'll now see the image that your customer will see on the Cloud app. Right above that is the Add Comment icon. Let's add a comment now. and we'll submit that. Over to the right, there's an option to make the proof file active or inactive. Remember, only active proofs display in the Customer Cloud app. While we're here, let's add a description for the proof and the group. We'll say subway flag with logo on dowel rod. And we'll just call this the flag. And let's go ahead and do the same for artwork group B. So this will be our Subway serving breakfast, Subway with arrow, and we'll call these 2-yard signs because these are the 2 signs that we're doing one print of each of these. Whenever we're finished setting up our groups like we want them, the last thing that we'll want to do is change the status for the groups. Now you'll notice there's a status button at the top and there's one for each line item. The option at the top is going to change group A and B, and we're going to want to change those to pending approval. Pending approval is the status that's going to trigger the email to the customer. So by changing this to pending approval, that's going to send an email to the approver, Fred, letting him know that there's artwork that he needs to approve. If we needed to do this on just one of the groups, we'd go down to the individual group and make that change. Let's go ahead and make the change here. So we're going to move A and B to pending approval. Okay, now once we set these to pending approval, you may have seen that the Send a Reminder Emails button shows. This is, you can come here at any time and click this button if you want to send an email to your approver. That's just a reminder letting them know that there's artwork that needs to be approved. If you don't click this button, Control is going to automatically do this in 1 day, 3 days, and 5 days. As for the statuses, there's going to be 5 different statuses. The default one is InDesign. So anytime a new group is created, it's going to default to InDesign. The next status is pending approval. And then the customer, by them changing the status in the Customer Cloud app, they will either change the artwork to approved, rejected, or if they change it to submit changes, that's going to change the artwork group back to InDesign. The status produced is for you to use. Once the artwork is approved and you push it to production, then you'll want to change your status to move to produced. Let's look at the email that the approver will receive. Here's the email letting them know that they need to approve artwork. When they click on the blue Click to View Artwork button, they are sent to the Customer Cloud app. The landing page has your company name, the default welcome message, or your custom welcome message if you've created one. The approver will click the Continue button. They'll then be brought to the web page that has all of the pending approval artwork groups displayed. Then you'll see all of the proof images linked to that group. Now in this particular group, we only have one image. Let's go back to group B, and you'll notice that there's going to be 2 images. When we select proof 1, the user will see the image file with the description underneath it. Notice the Download PDF button that is displayed above the image. This button will only show when a PDF file that's named the exact same as your image file is dropped into the proofs folder for the group. Let's take a look at that now. So if we go back to Control and we go to our Documents tab, I mentioned that I put a PDF file and a PNG file into each artwork group folder. The reason that I did that was so that whenever the customer went to the Customer Cloud app, the PNG file is going to display here, but the PDF, they can then click that, download it, open it up, see the simple proof file that they've always gotten from us. If we close this and go back to the Customer Cloud app, to the right, the customer can add, view, or hide comments. So if they want to add a comment, they can click that here. New comments trigger an automatic email that is sent to both the designer and the approver. And the final thing that can happen is you can click the Make Decision button to approve reject, or more nicely, stop, call me, or request changes to the artwork. One important thing to remember about the Make Decision button is that your choice applies to all of the images in the group. For example, in our group B, we have 2 images. If the approver rejects either of the images, they are rejecting the entire group. Once a group is rejected, the user will no longer be able to access this group in the Cloud app, be able to access the group in the pending approval or approved statuses only. Send this. Here's a message letting us know that whenever we approve, reject, or change, or resubmit changes, you're going to get a message that lets you know it applies to all images in that group. Since we just rejected artwork group B in the Cloud app, whenever we come back to the artwork tab, you'll notice that it's now in the rejected status. However, artwork group A is still in pending approval because we have not yet approved or rejected this artwork group. That concludes the detailed example. There are a few miscellaneous items that I would like to go over with you. The first one is that what we've done on this particular order can be done on an estimate as well. Some people choose to send artwork on estimates. Some of you guys choose to send artwork on orders. Either one, it's going to work. The only difference between the two is that if you do put your artwork on an estimate, whenever you convert the estimate to an order, that artwork is going to move from the estimate to the order. If for some reason one of the files are open and it can't move it, it's going to actually copy the file. So in some rare circumstances, you will have one file in both the estimate and the order. Another miscellaneous item that I'd like to go over is this Resync button. If for any reason you click the Add Artwork Group button here, an artwork group is created, but if you ever go to the Documents tab and that artwork group does not show here, if you go back to the Artwork tab, click this Resync button, Control will refresh and we'll look to see if any artwork group folders need to be created. It will then create the folder. Another reason why you may want to use this Resync button is if you go to the Documents tab and you drop files in the folder, let's say we dropped files in here, and we go back to the Artwork tab, if this is still showing 0, if we click the Resync button, that's going to cause the system once again to refresh, and it's going to go back out there and it's going to look to see if all the files that are in the Documents folder are also displaying here. The last thing that I'd like to go over is a dashboard. We've created a default dashboard for artwork approval. So if we click on the drop down next to dashboard, if we go down to the bottom, you'll see one called artwork approval. I have lots of different artwork in my test system, but the way that this dashboard is laid out is it's displaying, and each of these instruments is displaying all artwork groups that are in the design status, pending approval status, approved status, and then I have down here produced, rejected, or voided, and then ones that are linked to no line items. So just as your order or your estimate or your line item would move from one instrument if you're filtering on stations into another, this one works the same way. If we were to go and change this specific artwork group's status to pending approval, it's going to be removed from this group and added to this group, just like you would expect.